Hi, my name is Anshua and welcome back to Midlife Chapters. Today I want to talk about something that is deceptively simple and yet it seems extremely hard for many of us to do, and that is the power of saying no. And it sounds really easy, but for many of us, especially as women, it's one of the hardest things to do. And we have been taught to always say yes because all along the way, we are the ones who are taking care of family. We help to create, we help to keep peace, which is what we think peace is. We help to smooth the edges. And therefore, somewhere along the way, every time we say yes to something, that yes seems automatic. But this is the truth that every time you say yes to something that doesn't feel right for you, you actually quietly say no to yourself. And this is betrayal in my eyes. So let's break this down a little bit as we go along. And while we are doing this, while we're talking about this, I am actually making this little fall arrangement. So I have some flowers, just wanted to show you that I picked up from the market. Got some branches, a very obliging forest, and I have some grass, and I have lit a candle just to make it feel more cozy. All right, let's dive in. Most of us, especially women, are taught to lead with care, right? To say yes, to help, to smooth, to hold, and that's absolutely okay. But every time we do this without checking in with us to, to say that is this yes coming from a sense of fear, some coming from a sense of duty, or is it coming from a true need to be useful and also to be of use to either a bigger cause or to our family or whatever the reason might be, right? And I think that the first doorway to say no in this regard would be just leading with feeling and not logic. If you, especially if you find it hard to do this, this could be a very first step that you could practice is that you tune into your feeling, right? So not that does this make sense for me to say no, but rather to say, how does this feel when I say no to something? Because feelings are the compass of the feminine. And when you say, I feel or I don't feel, you're kind of reclaiming your inner authority. And you're saying that my inner landscape matters, right? So even like, for example, even when I'm doing this arrangement, just to bring, just to put this in context as to what I'm doing here, I'm not thinking logically from my head, oh, where should this go? Where should that go? And of course, there is a science behind it. There is also um, a whole theory of design and how things should fit together and all that. But I'm kind of just saying, how does this feel for me? How does this feel? Not does this make sense to put this color next to that color, but how does this feel? Right? And feeling is so individual, which is why I think this makes this kind of work so fascinating, is because each of us are going to have a different answer. And the moment you say no to something and you begin with this, you begin with the feeling, you're actually calling in a much bigger and a much more divine power than you think you have access to. And that's your inner divinity, your inner feminine divinity that is saying, how does this feel? Right? So the next step, but before we get to the next one, I just noticed I don't have my hydrangeas, so I'm going to quickly go and grab them. So I now have some dried hydrangeas. Let's see how that fits in. I'm going to feel how it fits in. The the second part that I would like to say in this context is that, of course, not every no is the same, right? I mean, I think we all know that. Some no's are really about protecting your space, and some are just rebellious because you just think, oh, well, I'm going to say no because that person said no before. And that can be a little bit of an ego mind game. And the more we live in our lives and the more um, we gather our experiences, we want to move away from our egos leading the life and move more into something that is a lot more compassionate, which of course brings me to the second point is that is this no learn to discern, is this no coming from ego or is this coming from a place of compassion, both for yourself and for others? So when you pause before you say no, ask yourself, is this boundary, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a sense of fear or is this coming from a sense of love? Am I saying no because it honors my truth or am I saying no just because I'm reacting from a place of pain, right? And discernment in this case is so very important because the moment you can discern, that's when you will realize that you start making the discernment a sacred act. And so it no longer becomes something that you are automatically doing just by saying this no, but you're inviting inviting the discernment to have a role in this story of your life, and that the discernment is going to help you choose the no that frees you rather than the one that shuts life out, which is what happens when we tend to move from our ego. So when you cultivate that compassion, even for the parts of you that are still wanting to please, your no becomes softer, it's wiser because it is rooted in love. The next thing that I wanted to say is to really embrace your body as the first boundary. And I cannot stress this enough. Our bodies are always something that are going to discern even before we do. Our bodies talk to us all the time. We just don't pay attention to it. Our bodies always tell us whether something is tightening, whether something is contracting, whether something is resisting, when things just don't feel right, right? So our body is the first entry point, and which is why it would actually be beneficial for us to start listening to the body, because the body is always going to indicate whether something feels right or something doesn't feel right. So notice your body, and in this regards, take care of your body, right? This is the only body you're going to have in this life, and you're not going to get another one. So you might as well be nice to it. And taking care means, of course, leading a healthy lifestyle, eating the right food, exercising, moving, doing everything that makes you feel good, makes you feel healthy, makes you feel alive, and of course also um, makes you feel beautiful. Right? There is so much of joy to be had in in our bodies. And once you have taken care of all of these things, this is when the last bit comes in, and that's the creative yes. So when you say no, remember how we said that when you say no to something, you are opening the door to saying yes to something else. And that is the beauty, because with every true no is the service to a deeper yes. A yes to your creativity, a yes to your life force, a yes to your freedom, because creativity is the language of life itself. It is also the language of the feminine, right? This is how we operate in our world, and cultivating it in any shape and form that may seem right to you is going to be so wonderful. It's going to enrich the life in so many different ways, and it really doesn't matter what your creative forces are. It could be like I'm just making an arrangement, right? Something that pleases me, something that feels right for me. It could be cooking, it could be spending time with your family, it could be just doing something for a friend. It can be anything. It can also be, of course, the traditional creative acts of writing, of painting, of sculpture, of you name it. There are 1,000 different things to do, right? So creativity always reminds you that the no is not just an emptiness, but in fact, it's a fertile space. It's the soil that's waiting for the next thing to bloom. So when you say no to something, ask yourself, what wants to grow in the space that I have just reclaimed for myself? So maybe saying no is not about shutting down. Maybe it is more about saying yes, which may seem a little counterintuitive, but now that we've thought this through, perhaps this makes a little more sense. And it's about saying yes, right? It's about saying yes to your body. It's about saying yes to your peace, to your creative rhythm, to your truth. Because when you learn to lead with feeling and practice compassion and care for your body, stay connected to your creative fires, your no doesn't, it's not just a boundary, but it's a declaration of something much bigger than that. So this week, I invite you to notice the moments that ask for your no. Breathe into them, listen to your body, feel before you think. And when you speak your no, let it come from a place of love. Because every no that honors your truth opens a door to a beautiful beginning, new beginning, to something that says yes. Thank you for being here and walking this path with me. And I'm going to also show you how this looks on the other side. So just turn this around. This autumnal bouquet. It's just something to brighten the space, something that I have said yes to because I said no to something that didn't feel right, that didn't sit right with my body. And I got to do something different instead, something a lot more fun. So thank you for being here. And if this resonates with you, please share this with somebody who's also learning to trust their own no. And I will see you next Tuesday right here on the Midlife Chapter. And up to then, remember, next chapter starts now. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.